finally going to get into a big category. Look at that. Just the way it's edited. Top 10 no entertainers of 2023. Now, I do need to preface something. Remember, if you've watched any of these things in the past, this does not mean that I am condemning these entertainers for all eternity. That's not the point of what this is. Just entertainers that didn't do the best superb job that they could have done. Again, probably in my opinion, although I argue that I have some objective facts to state in these things in some ways. But to each his own. Not really. Anyway, yeah, top 10 entertainers let down in some way or something that was just wildly bonkers, I guess. So here we go. Top 10. Let's see what we go. Starting off with number 10, we are going to go with... Oh, no. This is a guy named Alexei Gerasimov. He is the Skibbity Toilet creator for YouTube. I didn't understand what the heck this this thing was. It was a sensation on YouTube. It looked like what's Hunger Games? Like a post-apocalyptic kind of thing. They have a term for it. I'm trying to remember. Like when it's the end of the world, but it's not really because people are still alive. But anyway, something like that. It looked like dystopian. There we go. Yeah, kind of a dystopian world with toilets with talking heads inside them and humans with radio and camcorder faces. It was just bizarre, weird. I don't get the whole thing. I'm just like, this isn't something that's worth it. Maybe it's saying something, but it doesn't seem to be saying anything that really is truly worth it. And I'm just like, Gen Z needs better entertainment. So yeah, it's just weird, nasty. I don't get it. All right, number 9. Sadly, we've got Kelly Kapoor herself, Mindy Kaling. She helped create the new Velma series, which surprisingly I hear is getting a season 2. Very weird. She's had some not so nice commentary after the show for her critics. Let's see if I've got any other notes. But yeah, Mindy, my gosh, girl, like that was such a weird thing that you did with Velma. Too many inappropriate things. Like, this is a childhood cartoon, and I get it that you can make things seem more adult sometimes with a lot of things. Usually there are adult-oriented jokes hidden in children's things, but not to the nth degree of inappropriateness. And yeah, no, it shouldn't have. It has too many factors that just work against it, and I'm disappointed she has to be on the list for Velma. My gosh, what a disgusting disappointment. All right, number 8. Okay, we've got Megan Rapinoe. Okay, I have to get very specific with Megan Rapinoe because there are going to be people who are going to defend her, and so I'm going to talk exactly about the things that I did not find necessarily good nor compelling for the positive, so let's get into it. So Megan Rapinoe, she continues to virtue signal at the Women's World Cup, and she gets benched from being a starter, which doesn't really come as a surprise at that point, from being a starter. Few really believe that she even deserved a spot on the roster in the first place because she couldn't really contribute much to the team at that point. She had that conference where she admits she believes men should play in women's sports for that other reasons. Again, I'm not going to get too specific for the YouTube rules. It comes on to the field in her last game, and she brings her own boombox for her own intro music, which was just cringy to a whole new level that I was just like, girl, you got to get over yourself. She blows a penalty kick at the Women's World Cup, and she doesn't even look like she's upset that she missed. I mean, I get it. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, I should have done better at that. Okay, shrug it off. This is the Women's World Cup. You're supposed to be really disappointed. And it's the last one that you're going to participate in. And she just, I don't have much sympathy for the fact of the way that she did it. And again, like, this is, all of these things sound kind of small depending on who you are and what your background is. But because there is a whole volume of things that I don't like that she did, that's the reason why I feel like we've got to add her on this list. So I've got 2 more little spots here. So she admits her biggest positive memory is her fight for equal pay. And that's a whole different story because there are so many lies about what happens with the men's and women's teams in that. And she is completely misleading everybody. She has misled everyone about that. Now the women actually kind of in a way almost get paid more than the men in certain ways that you can view it, or certain ways that you look at the percentages. And so she's just like, she has no soccer accomplishments. She has a money accomplishment, which isn't really a real accomplishment. Anyway, and then the last thing that she did is she suffered that ankle injury after the World Cup. She was playing on her regular team, not the Women's World Cup. And yeah, she had an ankle injury and claimed that this is proof that there isn't a God. I just almost made Tanner do a spit take. So yeah, I mean, hey, you don't have to, but that's a stupid reason for saying that. So yeah, so good. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, good riddance, Megan. Go be quiet somewhere else. All right, number 7, Sam Smith. So I still like Sam Smith's voice. He can still sing, but my gosh, where his performance is just objectively like way too out there. It's like, I'm sorry, any artist that embraces satanic imagery, like the way that I talked about Lil Nas X not that long ago, a year or 2 ago. I'm just like, Sam, please don't do this. Like, your voice is wonderful. Dude, this is weird. And no offense, but the fact that you gained weight doesn't help with the weird outfits you're putting on here. It doesn't matter in the live performances. It doesn't help with the music videos that you created. This is some really weird stuff. And I'm scared for you, dude. I'm really scared for you. I don't either. I hope he gets help. I hope he just makes just standard music. His voice is his gift. He's just got to do it that way. But yeah, only makes number 7 because it wasn't as impactful throughout the whole year. Number 6, we've got Michael Orr. This one's really disappointing, and I know that you could agree with me on this, but yeah, the creating the lawsuit for his adoptive family, saying that things didn't add up for the conservatorship / adoption that I guess might not really have been an adoption, but was like an adoption because it was a conservatorship of some kind, and talking about how he was owed money still for The Blind Side. Kind of a disruptive thing. His family seems to have handled this, with heavy hearts, but they've been way more professional than he has. And I'm just like, dude, like, if you lost all your money from playing in the NFL, I'm not saying that's what happened, but if, like, that's the only reason that anybody else can really think of, like, you need to do something else. Like, your parents seem to be amazing people. They can do good things for you. So I'm not sure what's going on.
It just comes across as so unbelievable. I'm always going to love the movie, The Blind Side. It's a fantastic film, but I have no respect for this man.
Right. It's a little bit of a sad letdown story. All right, at number 5, we've got... Okay. This is an interesting story. This is Hank Willis Thomas, and he created this image, this sculpture that was placed in Boston. And let me see, I think I may have the name of it. This sculpture. I don't have the direct name, but it's supposed to be Martin Luther King hugging arms with another person, maybe his wife or something like that. And see that reaction, that right there, that reaction, that's the thing that the whole world was seeing. This is something that probably wasn't really on your radar. But the reason this is, some people think this is more of a political sphere. No, it's not. It's a sculpture of Martin Luther King, supposedly. People had a lot of... Yes, the internet has said some really inappropriate things about this, but you can't tell me that this is actually a good, beautiful sculpture. No, it's not. It's horrifically stupid. The symbolism is beautiful, but why didn't you make Martin Luther King as a whole person instead of just these arms that look like really weird things if you have a perverted mind? Not saying I do. I'm just saying that's what the internet seems to have done. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm. Yeah, but I'm sorry. This is wrong. There was a couple other sculptures I had on my radar actually, but this is the one that is the most non-political that I could get on, and it's also the one that probably had the most impact personally. Well, not me personally, but just from what I could observe. All right, we've go to number 4, and number 4. So we have Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. I think that's how you say his last name. So they're the creators of Barbie. I need to declare this to the whole world. Anyone who is watching this. Barbie is objectively a bad movie. No. It's not an okay movie. It is a bad movie. Are there moments that are entertaining in it? Yes. Keyword, moments. Like, the writing makes no sense. That's the whole thing about the movie. It doesn't make sense. There are things that are messages that maybe I can get on board with. There are some other messages that I cannot, for the life of me, get on board with at all. And these two just botched it. It's an IP that could have been kind of cutesy interesting, and yet it's deluding the minds of several people who watch this movie, and people objectively think that this is a good movie. It's not. It is objectively a bad movie. Not an okay movie, not a, it's whatever you think. No, it's not. It's a bad movie, and that's why they're on the list. All right. There's my soapbox there. Yeah, again, won't try to convince you hard enough. Number 3. The whole Dodgers organization. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more touchy because, yeah. So the Dodgers organization had a particular group of people, and I'm going to be very, again, I'm not scared to say this, but I'm not sure how YouTube rules work right now. So they invited a group last year for a very specific month of the year, where they tried to do a special Henri program of some kind, and it was not appropriate for general audiences. And there were baseball players and a lot of Dodger fans and baseball players all around who said, no, we don't want that. That's not right. That's inappropriate. And so they disinvited them. And then that group got mad, and they were going to do something legal-wise that was not good, or they just complained online. And then the Dodgers invited them back. And I was just like, that's not cool. Yeah, you listen to your fans. You have to listen to your fans. And you are, as much as I personally don't believe that the Dodgers are as family friendly as other baseball brands, it is a family sport. I mean, all sports in some way should be family geared to some degree. Yeah. Not like childish family, but family centered in some degree.
It's still a fun family outing.
Yeah. And so, again, like, there are certain people and groups involved in this kerfuffle, to call it that I don't necessarily need to get, like, in big beef with, but it's like, this group is, in fact, purposely trying to poke the bear in very offensive ways that I was just like, no. But I can't put that group on this list because they're not necessarily an entertainment group. They claim to be, they're not. Because it's so dark in the opposite direction. But I have to put the Dodgers on here because of their spinelessness. So, there you go. And then number 2. Number 2, we've got Jada Pinkett Smith. So, why is this woman here? Well, I'll tell you. Let me get up the points because there's a couple of other details. So, first of all, she kind of admits in some sort of interviews that she has done certain things to raise her children, like providing them psychedelics. That was like, at that age, you were okay with that? She's gone and admitted a lot of weird things, and I'm sure there's a couple of social media things that I might be missing. But the biggest thing that she definitely deserves to be on here is that she did a special directorial thing for Cleopatra, and she portrayed Cleopatra in a way that was not historically accurate, in a racial kind of way. And it got so bad. I mean, she got pushback from a lot of people because it's like, yeah, that's not right. And it's, yeah, it just got crazy. And then it got so bad that the entire country of Egypt sued her for misappropriating and misinformation on the historical figure of Cleopatra, who is Egyptian. So she got an entire country to get pissed off at her. And yeah, so big L for this crazy woman. Yeah. All right, and number one, no entertainer of the year. This one is Matt Petgrave. Now this one is a little sensitive to get on. So Matt Petgrave plays hockey, and I believe that at this point he was playing for the league that's in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. And he had an incident where he made a move, and it's not confirmed if it was intentional or unintentional. However, it is believed by popular viewership that it looked like it was intentionally a poor move to make while skating and playing the game. But he raised his leg, and the skate hit another player and sliced another player's throat. And that player ended up bleeding to death. And again, I'm very cautious about putting tragedy in any of these lists, but this player had been known for causing trouble, for not being very sportsmanlike. And this one, while I don't believe he intentionally tried to end the life of another person, his poor misconduct ended up in this way. And that's why he's on the list here. And that's what I got. A couple of dishonorable mentions super quick. Okay, so I've got John Morant, Kendrick Perkins, Karan J. Phillips, Latoya Ravenel, Mia Khalifa, Inclusive Minds, and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So that's the name that I couldn't say earlier, but now it is at the end. All right, no lists of 2023. There we go. What you got to drink? All right, so we're going to do now for the last portion of the 2023 awards. We've got the top 10 Y.E.S entertainers of 2023. I'm going to mention a couple of honorable mentions real quick. We've got Takashi Yamazaki, who directed Godzilla -1, did a superb job doing that. Adrian Stosha and Hurricane, who won America's Got Talent last year. Patrick Mahomes for doing a pretty good job in the Super Bowl, for having kind of an injured leg throughout the playoffs. So yeah, props to Patrick Mahomes for doing a pretty good job with that. Noah Lyles, also another runner, won a couple of tournaments. I'm sorry, I don't know all the proper terminology for that, but he did a pretty good job for the USA, so good job. I really appreciated that he got emotional during the raising of the flag, so props to him for feeling something. Let's see. I'm going to also give an honorable mention to Jared Leto for that climbing the not the skyscraper, yeah, but the Empire State Building. So props to him for accomplishing that. Like, how many people get to do that in the first place? But then doing that specific thing, that's pretty cool.
Until now, the only time I'd ever heard of something like that was in a book that I read in grade school.
Another person I'd like to mention is Mac McClung for winning the Slam Dunk contest in the NBA, who did it pretty interestingly. Was signed on to the 76ers. He was in the G League before that and got to win it and did a pretty fun job as a white guy who can jump really well, and actually did some creative dunks and that's something that's kind of lacking, but he was able to make it slightly more interesting, and a lot of NBA people agreed with that. And then the very last people I will mention, and their reason they maybe could have made the top 10, but because they are who they are, and their kind of thing is on the fence with me. But the last honorable mention I'll mention is South Park. For some hilarious things that they made fun of regarding Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and other things like that. South Park, not usually my personal cup of tea because of a lot of additional obvious reasons, but yeah, but they did a good job. So, all right, so I'm going to give them props for that. All right, so let's get into number 10. Probably no one's expecting this one at number 10. I've got John Mayer. John Mayer did not release an album this past year, but what he did do is he started a radio station with SiriusXM. It's called Life, and this is a station that is not necessarily centered in a genre of music, but rather in the moods that he thinks of. He'll think of, what does someone listen to for breakfast on a Monday morning? What does someone listen to when they're in the car going to X destination? Like, he thinks the genres of life, hence the name, is really what matters. You can listen to any genre of music, but what are the ones that really make you feel something for particular situations in your life? And I think it was a great idea. I got to hear some snippets of it because I don't usually have SiriusXM, but I was able to hear some things from there, and he actually was able to share a couple of interesting, unique things for himself, so he kind of got to throw a couple of personal plugs in there. But I really liked the concept of the radio station, and I thought he delivered it in a really cool way. No one else is doing that, although I will admit I kind of like to do something like that when I did radio before moving to Utah. But anyway, I could probably do a better job, but he did it good, and I'm going to give him props. Number 9, we've got Jeremy Boring. Now, before any of you go off like, Jeremy Boring's not an entertainer, well, tell that to everything that he was able to accomplish this year. So Jeremy Boring launched Bentkey, which is a children's entertainment streaming platform that is dedicated to providing things that are actually kid-friendly. Because a lot of cartoons and TV children's shows are, kind of sneaking things in there that a lot of people aren't necessarily on board with, and he helped bring this about. And from what I have seen from the few shows that are on there, and they're adding more, but I just like the idea of it, and he did a really good job with that. He also launched Jeremy's Chocolate, which has a hilarious commercial. Really good. I really need to try this. It looks pretty good, but I really like the commercials that were for it. And they also, through him, were able to make an announcement of creating their own version of Snow White through the Daily Wire. And this erupted everything on the internet that Disney actually had to chop its plans for their version of Snow White, and they're pushing it back later before the Daily Wire releases it. But yeah, so Jeremy Boring's been very good at finding ways to disrupt the entertainment industry in very hilarious ways, so I have to give him props in some way, having accomplished this. So Jeremy Boring, good job, makes the list at number 9. Number 8, we've got Vigo Ven. Vigo Ven. So Vigo Ven won Britain's Got Talent and is one of the funniest and dumbest auditions I have ever seen in my life. Vigo Ven, you are like a comedy hero because of how amazing your audition went. It was stupid and it was amazing. I loved it. Thank you for doing exactly what you do. You are excellent. I am so happy that you went as far as you did. I remember seeing your audition and then I forgot about it, and then I watched your live shows, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy. Oh my gosh, he won? What? It was awesome.
That means you're doing really good.
Yes. Well, see, and Simon wasn't completely on board with it either, but by the end, he's like, okay, I get it now. I get the whole concept of what his comedy is. So Vigo Ven. All right, number 7. We've got Alejandro Monteverde. He is the director of Sound of Freedom. Again, so I'm in between Godzilla -1 and Sound of Freedom, and the reason I'm going to give Alejandro an edge here is just because the simplicity of what the movie is. Well, that's kind of a weird way of saying it, but like the sets, having it in a lot of Latin American countries, and just the way that the nature of the dark themes of the movie had to be directed. I thought he pulled it off really well. It's a movie that a lot of other people will be like, oh, it's made by a studio of a particular angle that usually don't make great movies. I disagree in this instance. I thought this was an excellently executed movie. So yeah, he's got to get a spot here for being having made that movie. So good for him. All right, number 6, we've got Caitlin Clark. All right, got to pull up some stats on Caitlin Clark. Despite the fact that she and her Iowa Hawks did not win the NCAA women's basketball tournament, she was essentially the hero of women's basketball. Yes, the hero of it. She is the one that is bringing eyes to the TV. She's the one that is selling merchandise. She's the one that's kicking everyone else's socks off. She's also the one that happens to be somewhat of not just a basketball competitor, but in a way, kind of a lady, despite the, slightly aggressive nature of the sport in some way. But she's actually able to have some poise. She can, get competitive, but she has much more poise and honor and dignity and respect compared to some of the other women. So ladies, take note if you're going to play basketball. Have some self-respect, have some sportsmanship. Now let's get to some of the stats. So she played back-to-back 41-point games, scored 8 three-pointers in the finals, 41 triple-double at one point, 191 points throughout the tournament, and won multiple awards and accolades that year. And just showed the world that women's basketball could be fun. So props to Caitlin Clark for actually accomplishing that. All right, we got number 5. And number 5, we've got Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio. So here is the list. Doug Gottlieb just has had a lot of interesting opinions this year, and he's been able to call out a lot of kind of mediocre and some even stupid takes that have happened this past year. So here's kind of the list. So he did compliment Caitlin Clark. He took the right side when it came to the beef between her and Angel Reese. Just totally obliterated that. Had a very interesting take about how that was also perceived from the whole Leah Thomas swimming thingamajig, and that, had a better take on that. He was able to call out Draymond Green and the band's Final Four take that he had with the Golden State Warriors. Basically, Draymond Green is the one that's kind of stirring up the problems going on with Golden State. Kind of explained one of the coach firing explanations that are going on. I think that one was more geared toward the NBA because some of those firings were very shocking and surprising because many of them had won an NBA championship at some point. So there's that. He has a very interesting take on opinions that Howard Stern recently shared, and so he had to tackle that one. He also had to tackle the drama that was going on on Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers in their trade and money deal scenarios with their contracts, because those things went on way longer than anyone wanted them to, and it was just starting to get annoying, and he had to break it down in certain ways. There was a lack of consistency in the NBA playoff officiating, which he also called out justifiably. He had some interesting takes on what he had to clarify on Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles, which he may or may not be right on that one. I just thought it was interesting that he was willing to kind of say, I might have been wrong on some of these things that I had thought about him before. He had an interesting take on the running backs in the NFL, which were also looking to try and make some money this past year and creating a lot of drama during the offseason. He had a great reaction to Jonathan Taylor's take with Colts. And let's see, this one's probably my favorite. He had a smack on Rob Parker with his take on the potential on baseball and soccer in the U.S. because Rob Parker just says stupid things all the time. I agree with Rob Parker like 15% of the time, and that's being generous. It's probably less. But Rob Parker, my gosh, he said some stupid things. And yeah, Doug Gottlieb corrected him. Let's see. oh, he had a lot of things to say about Shohei Ohtani going on with the baseball drama of whether he was going to leave the Angels or not, or whether he wanted to actually leave. And he also called out LeBron for his ego tripping during the ESPYs. That was a lot. So I just needed to share some examples because I can't just say like, oh, his takes were really good. So that was way more detailed than probably most people wanted to care to listen to, but I felt the need to say that. So, Doug Gottlieb, number 5. Good job for you, dude. Number 4, we have Derek Culver, aka on Instagram, Clanger McBanger. I am never going to get tired of that Instagram handle name. It is awesome. But basically, Derek Culver, he has a portfolio, a website, and social media geared toward astronomy and kind of nature-adjacent photography and some videos as well. Just really beautiful. If you can see in the images that we have here, he just finds locations and he's able to capture some of this just amazing astronomy and star nebulas, a whole bunch of stuff in the astronomy sphere of photography. I give him mad props for this. And this is somebody that was not on my radar. Someone from my previous work told me about him, and I'm just like, I'm bewildered and stunned and just amazed. So if you have time, go find his Instagram. Told you, Clanger McBanger, go find him. It's really cool, and it's really interesting, his website. He's got a fascinating story as to how he got into it and how things were not necessarily going well in his life at one point. So it's a story worth checking out. Just really, really cool. All right, getting on to number 3, we've got Justin K. Thompson. He is one of the directors of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The other 2 were Joaquin Dos Santos and Kemp Powers. Now, the reason I'm singling out Justin K. Thompson is because of the 3 directors, he probably had the majority bigger impact on the animation itself, or the decisions on how the animation took place in the movie. And that is one of the greatest features in cinema that we've seen in a very long time. So that's another director-oriented thing that I thought was worth mentioning and including here in my top 10. Something just really cool. All right, number 2, we've got Nikola Jokic from Serbia playing for the Denver Nuggets. He scored some amazing three-pointers during the postseason, had a record of triple-doubles during the finals. I think he had 8 during the whole run. Just some really comedic and indifferent also takes and reactions to a lot of the things that his press would ask him about his mighty impact on the game. And he just like, I just here to play basketball because I'm talented. I want to provide for my family. Everything's done. I want to go see my horses in Serbia. I miss them. It's just, I love the way that he dominated that season, and he was just excellent. And then well, he's well, very, very powerful guy. All right, and number 1 for 2023 Entertainer of the Year, we've got Novak Djokovic. I hope I pronounced that right. Yep, also from Serbia. So top 2 are from Serbia this year. Very cool. So in professional men's tennis, he wins the Australia Open, the French Open, the U.S. Open, and he comes in 2nd at Wimbledon. So just a lot of cool things. Almost wins the whole thing. Would have been a full Grand Slam, or those are all Grand Slams. Sorry if I'm mistaking those tennis terminologies. But because of those results, he was able to become the singles men's tennis player with the most Grand Slams of all time for men. Maybe of all time in period, I'm not sure, but for men, all time. And this is a feat that a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to do due to a lot of restrictions that he experienced during the height of the 2020 era thing. So he pulled it off. He did amazing. I think he's still playing tennis. He could still do it for a long time, but my gosh, is he talented. I actually was able to watch part of one of the tournaments, and I'm just like, yeah, how do tennis players do this? It's bizarre how crazy they actually can get into this stuff. despite it's not one of the sports that I admire the most, but when I watch it, I can't help but think like, oh gosh, my knees. So some crazy things. So let me know if any of you are watching. Let me know who you thought were entertainers of 2023 that deserved a spot on here. But that's my list here. It's definitely right. But yeah, let me know. And we got a whole new year to look ahead. Best entertainers of the year. It's been fun. I enjoyed what I was able to find from 2023. Some very different things. But that's all we got. So be seeing you around. Get that yes in your life.